We are the Catalan Independentist Resistance, and you are listening to a new update from Radio Hadrian in Free Catalonia.
Journalism is publishing something that somebody doesn't want you to publish. All the rest is public relations. George Orwell. Hello, this is your host David Rabantos. This is chapter 63 in Radio Hadrian. After a couple of weeks of not having been with you in the English version, we're planning to publish or to promote more the English version from September on, because some of the things that are going on in Catalonia are relevant for the rest of the world. So we want this, the only independent media publishing in Catalonia, to reach farther. In the last weeks, we will talk about some of the things we've talked in the last weeks or have happened here. This chapter is dedicated to every person that has been involuntarily internated in a psychiatric ward all along history. That's something we're going to talk in this program. But in this program, we're going to talk about the Salmond, the allegations that Salmond committed harassment while he was First Minister of Scotland, but in the context of a wider plot to undermine independentism both in Scotland and Catalonia. We're going to talk about George Soros, which is what he said about Scottish independence in 2014, and because he is being put in relation with Catalan independence. We'll also talk about Brexit a bit, so this is very focused on Scotland. As you see, Scotland and the breaking up of the UK. We'll also talk about 17th of August of 2017, 1 year on, and the lies they told us about what happened here, and also we'll finish with the use of psychiatry as a repression tool, as I'm a living case of. When it comes to the Salmond, I don't have enough information on what's going on there. For next week, we'll know more in depth as things advances. I have to say, we forewarned this. I don't know if we put it here, but Delia and me were sure that something like this was going to happen. And I'll explain why. And I don't enter because I don't know if it happened, if it didn't happen. It has to be investigated, but what has happened cannot be taken without relating it to the plot to murder Scottish independence. We've had a case in Catalonia with Jordi Pujol. He was president of Catalonia for 23 years, and he came out as pro-Indi recently. That's the difference with Salmond, because Salmond has pretended to be pro-Indi all the time. We know he is a British mole, but most people don't know that or don't want to accept that. But Jordi Pujol came out only recently for independence just to be confessing to tremendous money stealing from public finances and all these things. This is still on trial. But the question has been used to tarnish Catalan independence, to link it with corruption. Well, stealing public money is bad, and sexual related offenses when you're in use of power are also very bad. And that's why I say we knew this was coming, because once you know the plot, once you realize that the SNP is the main British tool to keep Scottish British, and when you follow the path these things have followed since 2014, as we were some of the first to say that the SNP is working against Scottish independence. We went as far as to do a hunger strike for the independence of Scotland, so we are entitled to comment on these things, because we know what we're talking about. Both Nicola Sturgeon and Salmond are guilty of betraying the people of Scotland by signing the horrendous Edinburgh Agreement that opened the door to the referendum in 2014. We have to say that Salmond had saved Nicola Sturgeon from nothingness some years before, when she was running for the leadership of SNP and she was losing, and then Salmond made a surprise reappearance, taking her as his deputy, and that saved her political career. And then after the murder of Scottish independence in 2014, he quit. Not in the first appearance in the day, but in the second. So that also was staged. And then he paved the way for Nicola Sturgeon to be the pop star celebrity, so-called running Scotland. Scotland is not run from Scotland, so but let's pretend we buy into the official version. Okay. After that, there was a almost Nazi-like campaign to make everybody join almost per force the SNP. The campaigns on social media were ludicrous. The English tabloids were helping by promoting the number of new members on the SNP that had joined. And that is abnormal because we know that there's the mob effect. So why should English newspapers promote a so-called pro-indie party by announcing the rise in numbers day after day? Nonsense. The SNP is the most effective tool to murder independence. They allowed the referendum rigging. They didn't use their overall majority in Holyrood, which they have after that lost. They didn't use 56 out of 59 members in Westminster to declare independence. And then they have put in the mind of Scottish people and in the world, they put the idea that SNP equals independence, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. Specifically because the SNP is the main British tool to murder independence from within. And that's why they almost forced everybody to join the SNP. Because if you link independence to SNP, but SNP happens to work for London, as we've been telling 5 years on almost, then the only thing you need to do is to break the SNP whenever you want that to happen. And what better way is there to break the SNP that have the two main faces in the SNP pitted one against the other? And now it's on. So now the destruction of the SNP is in full force, which means that this will be linked to independence, and this is a blow to independence. So then again, as it happens lots of time in this program, we have to say we said so, we told you so, but there's no worse blind that doesn't want to see. It is always controlled opposition. In Catalonia, it's the same. Unionist and pro-indie are run by Spanish agents, both of them. So it's a zero-sum game. It doesn't matter if you move from one field to the other, none of them are really for independence. That's why we had to set up this radio program. That's why we set up Directa 68 political party. That's why we managed to fly one plane with the banner of our party, because we are censored everywhere. Unionist and so-called pro-indie fields are one and the same. They're both run by London in Scotland. They're both run by Madrid or higher up in Catalonia. So everything that happens, and this is not about abuses on women, which is a very serious topic that we need to look into, and this is not about protecting your own side. Now we're gonna see the saddest of things, which is people, because they're support Alex, they're gonna defend them, and people that hate Alex are gonna hate him for it. And we should be able to be a bit more neutral. Things are rightly or wrongly done, regardless of who does them or doesn't do them. Until we reach that point, we're always gonna be used and abused by the powers that be. When they already know when we're so predictable, when they know what our reactions will be, they can keep putting this false flag attack because they know how we're going to react. So we need to start being a bit more unpredictable, a bit more neutral, and toughen up a bit, and toughen up to hard truths. One of the hardest truths is that the SNP is a Trojan horse for Westminster. The second field the second theme, which is about the Brexit, which is supposed to happen by 19 March 2019, but I have been forewarning that Brexit won't happen in the end. Referendums mean nothing. I was about to say something rather less polite, but referendums mean nothing. I've seen a video this week from The Guardian, that newspaper that some people, for some unfathomable reason for me, think that it's a good newspaper that tells the truth about things. They are part of the big fakes, Assange, WikiLeaks, and Snowden, which are both Trojan horses of the New World Order. And The Guardian has been a main character in this Truman Show called WikiLeaks, this Truman Show called Edward Snowden. So The Guardian is as part of the system as the BBC or you name it. The Guardian has made a video posing the case of possibly a second referendum will happen, and on the Parliament having the last voice on this. And we said this would happen. Referendums don't mean much. We won independence in a referendum in Catalonia. You had a referendum that was rigged. Greece did a referendum that was overlooked, and so did Ireland in 2008. They voted against the Treaty of Lisbon, but they had to revote, and bang, it entered. The plan was to lose the first referendum, or to have a Brexit the first referendum, then bring about all the difficulties of independence, and then close the case forever. Nothing closes the case of Brexit more permanently than having won the first referendum, then realizing that the difficulties are so strong and having a second referendum that revokes the first one. We said that was going to happen, and now things are getting closer to there. And then again, it's not because we're Nostradamus. Once you realize the whole thing is a Truman Show, you don't need to understand, you don't need to second guess every single thing. You just know the agenda, and sometimes they trick you because the agenda is so multi-layered and it affects so many things that you cannot be aware of everything. Like chemtrails and AIDS being a lie, and Scotland and Catalonia and 9/11 and all the false flags and all these things. It's very difficult to be aware of all of them. But when you get the gist of one particular one, we got the idea that the Scottish referendum is run by traitors. We got the idea and certainty that the Catalan process is run by traitors. And the same thing happens in Basque Country. And the same thing happens in Ireland. And I guess the same thing happens in Corsica, Veneto, everywhere in the European Union. The same thing happens in Flanders. All these countries, none of them manages to be independent. Oh, how much bad luck. Yeah. So Brexit probably won't happen, and that would close the issue for a long time. And that brings us something that links with the issue, because one of the main defenders of revoking the Brexit and thus ignoring popular opinion, this is, again, we need to be a bit more neutral and cerebral or brainy on the way we see things. This is not about preferring to be in European Union or preferring to be out of European Union. This is about how every time we vote, it serves to nothing if we don't validate what the powers that be have decided we should vote. That's the real issue here. This shouldn't be about, oh, I want to stay in European Union, so it's okay if there's a second referendum. Wrong. This is about people's revolution. This is about people's choices. This is about people's will. This is not about staying in European Union. It goes much farther than that. It goes much beyond that. It means every political system is a farce, which is only respected as far as we choose what the powers that be want. If it's not the case, they do a retake. We should be able to agree with this, I'm saying, even when you prefer to stay in European Union. Because if you don't wake up tomorrow, your son or daughter might be killed in the streets of Nice or Barcelona in a false flag attack. We need to wake up to the fact that we are stooges in someone else's play. We're stunts. We need to be actors in our lives again. We need to stop being animal farms like in the books of George Orwell. We chose him because he's relevant to us with 1984, an Animal Farm, and Homage to Catalonia. So for awoken Catalans, George Orwell, it's normal that he figured in this program. And that links us to George Soros. We're talking about Brexit, we talked about Scottish independence, and who's against Scottish independence and who's in favor of avoiding Brexit? None other than George Soros. And what George Soros wants normally happens. Tell that to the Bank of England in 1992. Tell that to the Thai Bank in 1997, or tell that to the Japan yen in 2003. He is also sponsoring the mass immigrations to which are producing money in the mafias that run these networks and genociding people in their own countries. So the best, the youngest, and more advanced people leave their own countries, condemning those countries first to genocide and then to poverty forever. We're impoverishing new countries by making them a source of cheap workforce. We should stop genociding those countries to stop the flow of immigration that George Soros and his comrades want. Not comrades, but let's call it partners in crime. The George Soros that spoke clearly against independence the week before the referendum in Scotland in 2014. It's easy to find links to that. I just did. That same Soros, which is putting heavily money and influence in reversing the Brexit, and with both things work for stronger UK and stronger European Union, one inside the other. This is a Matryoshka thing. Soros supports transnational instruments, so he averted to risk. He didn't want independence of Scotland or independence of UK because he wants a bigger, integrated, easy to control world. So this guy Soros, in Catalonia, they're saying, we already spoke about how he was against Scottish independence, and not only that, he said that they couldn't use the pound because they said that it would be very weak. And when that comes from, it sends you fright. It gives you fright. Somebody capable to bankrupting the Bank of England or bringing it down. When he gives doubts about your currency, he's not joking. And as you know, this fight for Catalan and Scottish and world independence is about disinformation or psyop operations. And now they managed to link George Soros, the Unionists and the ultra-right in Spain are saying that George Soros promotes Catalan independence. And that has been published in every language you can think of. And that is a downright lie. We've shown it. If he was against Scottish independence, why should he be in favor of Catalan? And they came out with a really weird scheme, but people buy into anything these days, so why shouldn't it work? Saying that he wants to diminish the power of nation states in benefit of European Union. Well, that's a lie, because otherwise he wouldn't have been against Scottish independence. So that's end of game. Game, set, and match. So then we realize this is disinformation. And why are they doing that? Because really he is supporting the Catalan process. He has put some peanuts into it, 27,000 to promote something called like Diplocat, which is kind of the Catalan diplomacy, but it's fake. The whole process is run by moles. So actually the truth is exactly the contrary to what they tell us. George Soros supports the Catalan process because the Catalan process is the Spanish Trojan horse run by Spanish moles like Carles Puigdemont, Quim Torra, Artur Mas, Oriol Junqueras, everybody who's in prison, everybody who's in exile. All those are fake. And it's clear that they're in prison and exile because otherwise people would be talking about the two fake declarations that they did in October. So to save their lives, literally maybe, depending where you live in Catalonia, your life might be in risk when the truth comes out. They're exiled or imprisoned to be protected from pro-Indy people that had been betrayed in October. We were beaten the 1st of October and betrayed the 10th and 27th. And now these people are protected by the paymasters in Madrid, by so-called being in exile, but so-called being in prison. It doesn't mean they're not in prison. But we know of people in other countries that have been in prison, but they work for London and Madrid, isn't it? So it's not the first time round. So we need to clarify this. It's a downright lie that George Soros supports Catalan independence. George Soros supports the Catalan process, which is the way Spain has devised to murder Catalan independence. And I think that's clarified enough with the examples we've given. Last week was the first anniversary of the murders in La Ramblas in Barcelona of 17th of August of 2017. We spoke about it in chapters 9 to 13 last year. What can I say? The official version is a downright lie. They gathered together in the Joint Commission for Security after 10 years of not getting together in Madrid and Barcelona, and the next month, bang. They've hidden all the cameras in Ramblas. The only videos produced we have found out that have been edited to make them worse quality and to kidnap a couple of photograms, which means that we cannot see the window. No picture or video or the so-called terrorist coming out of the van. All the passports and everything being found easily. But worst of all, he cannot run away in the whole city for now on 30, because we've heard people saying that there were a few seconds after him. They knew how he was dressed, and there's cameras in the market he's supposed to have escaped through. Thus, it's impossible that he run away from that manhunt. But the worst thing is that he is supposed to have murdered somebody 1 hour and a half after that, Pau Pérez. Who murdered Pau Pérez and why? If it's only a case of the utmost negligence, somebody should respond to the murder of Pau Pérez. That is, if this person, Yunus Abu Yaqub, is the person who did it. We've spoken with people in Ripoll, and everything we know is that it doesn't make sense. But everybody was executed, so we think that they're alive in a witness protection program, or it wasn't them and they were used as a scapegoat, or it was them and then they were betrayed. One of the three. It wasn't them and they were used as scapegoat. They did it, but they were betrayed by the puppeteers, or they're living in a witness protection program. There is no shred of evidence that links these people to doing this thing in La Ramblas. No shred of evidence. Everything is an invention. And this, as 1 year has passed, we've been searching for information. Something that there's so many media in Catalonia. Sometimes from Scotland, you look forward to have as many media in Catalonia. Perish the thought. We have more media, but all of them work for Spain, pretending to work for Catalonia. So they only serve to lie to people more thoroughly. None of this media is saying these normal things we're saying here. And we've seen people lying, saying that a policeman saying he saw the guy run away going up Ramblas to the right, when the market where the official version says that he ran away to is to the left. And he can say this, and not a single journalist in Catalonia. And that's why we chose the sentence with it. Well, somebody doesn't want you to publish that the official version is a lot of, you know what. So they say that. Then we have one guy saying that he stopped his taxi and it was so awful when he saw the tables and chairs from the terraces in La Rambla flying away. Correction. There's not a single bar or terrace in the part of La Ramblas where the van went through. And he did that in a main radio station, and the guy interviewing him has lived in Barcelona long, so he knows that. Lie again. We've had people saying how they heard the shots. There were no shots. There's a guy who even had the guts to go to a Dutch television and say that the shots impacted 2 meters from where he was. There were no shots. The official version is totally and downright a lie. 17th of August is our 9/11, though much lesser in amount, but the impact in the city reminds of that in a way. La Ramblas is our Twin Towers. Nothing that has been told us is true. And the main perpetrators are some people that people are cheering for. This Forn, which is in prison, and Trapero, which is investigated by Spain. But they are the two main disinformers in this thing. Those are the two main liars. The two that have lied to us about what happened that day. So we ask everybody who might have videos or telephone videos or who were there and saw things different. And I don't mean Ahmed Anwar, which we know that he is a liar and friend of Spanish Moles Anarchy and Joan Vives. So not you, Amer Anwar. We're talking about decent people, not you, Amer Anwar. And then we're gonna try to put up together some information and make some video explaining exactly how we think things happen, or at least dismounting the official version little by little. Then this year was and the king came here, and Spanish flags and Catalan flags and all these things, but that's all secondary. The main thing is that the official version is a lie. And well, it's quite a dense program. To finish that, we're gonna mention the use of psychiatry. As most of you know, I was doing a hunger strike for Catalonia and Scotland. I was forcibly put, abusing the law, in a mental ward where, when I didn't need it, for 62 days I was tortured with chemical substances that could have forced me to suicide because they took away my urge to be alive. This week I bring this about here because the Spanish system is peculiarly bad. You can be up to 6 months without a revision being made. I remember, and these days I think of her a lot, how Delia fought for me and how she was amazed on how things could be done here. And I commend this because it's been brought to my attention, because one person has been forcibly interned in psychiatric ward in Spain, and he told the friend helping him to try to contact me because the same thing had happened to me. We're trying to do what we can. I'm not an expert on this, but trying to connect with people that can help. But it's tremendous, and that's why we dedicate this program to this. It's tremendous. The police showed at his place he is now there, closed in a mental ward. I cannot guarantee that he doesn't need some sort of help, but it forced me to read what it was in Soviet Union. In Soviet Union, we have known a lot about the gulags and millions of people being killed there in Siberia, and now we've learned from Alexander Solzhenitsyn with the Gulag Archipelago and these things. But less known is after 1954, they were dismounted, but they started having psychokusha or something like this, which is like psychiatric places where dissidents were brought on the assumption that you needed to be mad not to be happy living in the best system in the world. So being dissident was associated with being mad and being tortured with chemical substances, and if needed, electroshock. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was dissident of this process, which is a dictatorship, a Francoist dictatorship, but they call it a pro-Indi movement, but they do nothing for independence. Now everybody's marching with these yellow flags and yellow crosses. All these things is to avoid talking about us being betrayed. We're fighting these battles for independence of Catalonia and for the independence of Scotland, but not only for the independence of our countries, but because a lot of things go very wrong in the world and nobody is fighting these battles, or unless we find one state. When we liberate one state, then we can start building up a system where people cannot be put arbitrarily in a mental ward because they are political dissidents. I'm not saying that this is the case of this person, which I don't name for the time being, because I don't know what his case is, but the fact that he has heard of us, it means that this program has a social function, which is people going through things that they consider to be injustices. They have a port of call now, and that's why we are happy and proud to do this program, and that's why we ask you to promote this program as much as you can, because we're going to win this battle in Catalonia to put our humble piece of help to make the world a better place. We are winning this. We are going to win. Visca Catalunya lliure, Saora Luba Gubra.
This has been another update from the Catalan Independentist Resistance from Radio Hadrian. Remember that you can follow us on social media, either on Facebook, YouTube, our Twitter account, Instagram, Google, Telegram, and also on iVoox.